What up, everybody? It's Ep11. Let's talk about it. This is How to Get Away with Murder, Season 5, Episode 11. This episode was jam-packed. One thing that get on my nerves about How to Get Away with Murder is that there's sometimes they'll have episodes that's like all about character development. Like the episode we got at the beginning, after the break, it was kind of like slow moving. It was more about Annalise and how she feels. We get so many flashbacks and we spend so much time like on one big issue. Then we have these shows where it's like 50,000 million things going on. I started taking notes last night, and then halfway through I got so caught up in it I was just watching it. So I was like, I'll watch again this morning and, you know, do give you my opinion of what happened this morning. But all in all, it was a good episode. It was a lot of information, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we open up with Nate at the FBI. He's there. He's giving his DNA samples to everyone, and they come in, or Annalise calls him while he's there, and he says, you know, he tells her where he is, and she's like, you don't need to answer any of their questions. He's like, don't come down here. You don't need to be anywhere near this. And he basically hung the phone up on her. So the officers come into the room, and they're asking him questions like, where was his whereabouts on such and such a day? He's saying that Miller, basically, in a nutshell, he's saying that Miller was killed because Miller is the one who ordered the inquest on his father. And they're like, well, that's a good thing, right? He ordered the inquest. He was just ordering the inquest to cover his ass. He was really a part of this conspiracy to kill my father. And they said, who is the person who was over the conspiracy? It's the governor. Dun, dun, dun. So basically, he's giving his whole theory to the FBI and hoping they're going to take it and run with it. He says that it's payback for Annalise taking his dad's court to the Supreme case and winning this case against the state. So he goes back to Annalise and tells them everything. I'm assuming that happened in the meeting with the feds or whatever. He might not tell them everything. You know, we don't be finding that kind of stuff out till later. We hear Bonnie playing the voicemail that she heard last week of Ronnie telling the warden thank you, you know, for the transfer going smooth with Nate's father and all of this. Nate says, just because you hear this, you can't believe that he's innocent now. And Bonnie is like, well, we don't have any reason to think that he's guilty. Nate is like, look, I know he messed with something. I know he tampered with something or whatever. So I'm going to find the proof that you need. So Nate is basically like, listen, if y'all need proof, I'm going to go out and get the proof. Okay, I know that he's not innocent. I'm not the bad guy. He is. Annalise is like, please stop. We're not saying anything is wrong with you. We're not saying he innocent. But what we are saying is that you making yourself look like a suspect if you going out. If you can prove that Nate has something, you know, done to your father, that they can prove that you had motive to kill Miller, right? So you making your own self a suspect. You digging your own hole. And that's when he's like, I'm not a criminal here. I'm not the bad guy. He's the bad guy. And he storms out and leaves. And Bonnie is just a hot mess. She's just sitting over there just in a ball of tears, child. When he leaves, Bonnie gets up to leave, and Annalise is telling her to please come back to the house after she's done with work. And Bonnie is basically like, I'm not going to hurt myself, telling her I'm not going to try to kill myself because, you know, Bonnie be going off the deep end. Annalise says something about hurting yourself is just not the right thing to do. And Bonnie is like, listen, the DA she's saying that the feds might want to ask her some more questions, so she's going to go ahead and go to work. So she went to work. Annalise then calls Asher to tell him to keep an eye on Bonnie at work, and she tells him he's good at that. That was something soft from Annalise. And I want to say before I go forward, before I forget, I like the fact that everything is out in the open. They have stopped doing that thing where they keep secrets from certain people and they don't tell certain people certain things. They're kind of laying it out on the table. I'm talking about Nate, Bonnie, and Annalise. I appreciate the fact that they're telling everything now, okay? Frank be the only one still keeping secrets. So I appreciate that. So anyway, Annalise calls Asher. She tells him to watch Bonnie for her, you know, just make sure she good. While they're on the phone, Asher tells her that, listen, you're not the only person that knows, you know, about everything. So then we flash to Annalise with the crew at work, and they're at Kaplan and Gold, and they're talking about, you know, everything that's going on. You know, the police gonna start coming in here to question us, get your interview stuff together, you know, basically get your story straight. They say they're not gonna tell anybody. And Annalise is like, listen, I heard that before. Where's Laurel? Is everybody on board? Like, what's up? And they like, listen, we not going to tell. And she was like, fine, Laurel, girl, and just shut up. Did you see Nate? Well, I didn't see him. I saw Nate. Did you see Miller? No, I didn't see. Okay, well, that's what you going to tell them. Don't be trying to remix, add no new, and help nobody out. Just say what you saw and what you didn't saw and put. And I know Annalise got to be tired at night trying to help everybody, honey. It couldn't be me. Okay. But at the same time this is happening, we see Laurel confronting Bonnie in the parking lot. She basically run up on Bonnie and is like, did the baby see what happened? Did Christopher see what happened? And she talking about the babies can have PTSD and their brain don't develop right. And she's screaming and hollering in the parking lot. Okay, anybody could have been out there. Anybody could have heard them. She just hollering and screaming like, Laurel is, take your medication, Laurel. Like, I don't know what to tell you, girl. Laurel is the most annoying character. Listen, y'all know I can't say every time I would say this, it'd be somebody new in the comments like, why do you hate Laurel so much? Because she's so annoying. Like, I just, girl, they talk about life or death, and you talking about did the baby? Listen. Ain't nothing wrong with the baby, okay? Bonnie is like, I don't know if the baby saw anything. Well, you don't know. And she hollering and screaming. And Asher walks up and tries to defuse the situation, basically saying that Bonnie lost somebody, too. He keeps saying, Bonnie lost her love of her life, too. He's hurting right now, too. Asher, you really caping for Bonnie this episode. Laurel is like, yes, I know. That's the only thing that's keeping me from killing her right now. Girl, if you don't go to bed, okay? Go to bed, Laurel. Comb your hair and go to sleep. Ugh. Annalise is meeting with Crawford to discuss the case. They are basically with Pearson, I think his name was. Jensen, who was a, you know, I guess he's a partner at the firm, and this is the way they're going to handle the misconduct case that he have going on with him. Girl come up, the lady that he was messing around with. Very beautiful, you know, nice looking white woman. And so they go on into the meeting and they're talking about how they're going to deal with the case, the deposition they got coming up the next day. And he's basically saying that Crawford is going to take fault because he's saying that woman wanted to sell, she sold some information to another company, and he did not advise her not to do it because he was in love with her. Basically, he should have advised her not to do it. But I think he actually did advise her not to do it. He just fallen on the sword for her. And they saying it was because they had an intimate relationship. So if they stick to the script, then, you know, everything will go over smooth and that'll be that, right? So Annalise is like, well, you know, what if we wanted to place the blame on the company? Because that company apparently had did the same thing, you know, and they had been told not to do, and they violated whatever, you know, law they got going on. They can blame that company for doing the same thing again. So it was really their fault. It wasn't Crawford and this woman's fault. And the guy is like, no, because if we do that, they're going to go public, and we trying to keep this under wraps. And you know, so everybody just needs to stick to what we said, and that's going to be that. And you can see that Crawford, he kind of folds a little bit. He kind of like, well, you know, maybe I will just go ahead and just get it over with. And Annalise is like looking at him like, boy, what's wrong with you? Okay, I thought we was trying to win. Like, you just giving up. So Laurel shows up to the office all pissed. She lets them know that she was out there threatening Bonnie's life. And, you know, they don't understand because they're not a parent. And she's asking about Gabriel. And, you know, everybody like, they don't know what Gabriel is or whatever. But basically, they tell her, listen, you know, Annalise knows that we know. So you need to go ahead and get your story straight because the FBI probably going to be calling you in for an interview at some point. We see Gabriel sitting at the FBI office. They come in, they're asking him, they play the voicemail. You know, the voicemail he left was for Miller, and he tells them that he was working with Miller on an investigation that had to do with Annalise. And they were like, well, you know, what about Annalise? That were they investigating? He says, I don't know. He didn't tell me everything. He just told me that they was supposed to be involved in a whole bunch of criminal acts. And so they're like, well, why would he use you, you know, to help him with the investigation? Like, what's so special about you? He was like, oh, it's just because I was a new student. Now, he neglected to tell them that he was Sam's son, right, from his first marriage. He left all of that out. Why you got a fake ID? Why you got all this going on, right? They're like, okay, well, you know, they bought it. And so they asked him about the wedding. Well, did you see Miller at the wedding? He was like, no, I didn't even know he was there. Well, did you see Nate at the wedding? Yes, Nate was there with Annalise. Okay. They gonna feel like Nate was lying about the nature of Annalise and him relationship because they was at the wedding together. But, you know, Nate said they were just friends. I don't know if that will be consequential. And I'm not sure. I know that this timeline that they're giving us, because they show us Nate in the office at the beginning, but that's 24 hours later. Then we pan to 24 hours back is when the story starts. And then we end up back where we started. And so when they talked to Nate that last time, they said had somebody in custody already. So they already had Gabriel in custody and already had these conversations with him that we're going to see on next week's episode. And I feel like last season, it was the same thing. It was the timelines of everything and how they converged and how they showed it to us broken up. And then at the end, we get to see it all pieced piece back together. So I can't tell you how it's connected, but I know the kind of timeline or how it's important. But I can tell you that it is important, because it's always important, this timeline they have, like on the show, with when this happened and 24 hours later and all this, you know, so that's going to be important. Asher comes into Bonnie's office and she like basically tell Annalise, I'm okay. I know she told you to watch me. And he was like, listen, I just came to tell you that I didn't tell them. The crew found out on their own. They figured it out. And she was like, you know, it's okay. You know, it was all going to come out in the wash anyway. And she starts to tell Asher what really happened. She confesses to Asher that she is the one. Didn't I tell y'all that? She is the one who killed this man. He was still breathing. He was in shock. She said, I could have called 911, but I didn't. It was her. Asher is like toe up. You can see his eyes are red. Like, he like, oh my God, you killed somebody. We act like Bonnie ain't put a bag over Rebecca's head and killed her season 1. Like, we act like she wasn't a cold-blooded killer, but I guess because she loved him and make a difference. Girl, you done already killed somebody. Okay, so why is Asher so shy? Hell, Asher done killed somebody. Asher, you done hear somebody roll over there with a car. Child, listen, it's a mess. She crying. He in shock because he thought it was Nate, of course, but it actually is Bonnie. I low-key felt like Asher had on a wire. Okay, I was feeling like he had a wire on in my spirit because his face was looking like, oh shit, I didn't know I thought it was supposed to be, oh shit, I didn't. Then we see Gabriel walk in on the brainstorming session that Tegan is having about the case. Basically, Michaela is giving a million excuses as to why they shouldn't have the case go forward. They need witnesses. That's the only way they're going to win. And Oliver try to back it up with some statistics. And Tegan is like, y'all not even trying. And Gabriel is just standing on the side, and she was like, Gabriel, do you need witness for a suit, this type of suit? And he's like, no, all you have to do is prove that there is, you know, a right to punitive damages. And she was like, yeah, this L2 just outsmarted all of y'all. Y'all need to get y'all stuff together. And so, of course, he didn't understand what he was walking into, but you know, they was like, boy, goodbye. Like, you know, he ain't in the clique no more. Okay. So he was like, well, what's going on with Annalise? I was just trying to help and this, that, and the other. And they're like, you done helped enough. Okay. And they was like, well, they asking me about Nate and going to the wedding. I thought y'all was tight or wasn't tight or something like that. And Oliver was like, well, we invited you to the wedding. Do you think we tight? And Gabriel was like, okay, that's my exit. All right. You not, yeah, Gabriel. You ain't, Nah, friend. It ain't happening. Not this episode. Nate meets illegally, okay, with somebody that was on the jury. They're not supposed to be talking to him, of course, but of course he decides to break the rules. And they tell him that they didn't make the ruling based off the evidence that was showed in court. They received another packet of evidence with a DNA test with his father's DNA on the gun of the correctional officers. And Nate is like, that was never presented in court. And he was like, yeah, it was after we started making deliberations. So Nate is putting together that somebody doctored a DNA test, putting his father's DNA on the gun, and sent this information to the jurors and altered their decision in the end. He then texts this to Annalise that Miller faked the DNA. And Annalise is just looking like, this nigga, like, oh shit, here he go with this shit. We see Nate in the car with, I don't know if it's a computer person or it's like somebody who worked, you know, in the police department. And he's trying to get the DNA test that Miller sent, that put in the file that was, I don't know if it was Miller, but somebody put in the file that said his, you know, that had the wrong information on it. And he just wants a copy of it. And the lady is scared. She like, listen, last time I sent you a picture of this man on his payphone, you know, he ended up missing. Now you giving me this. You know what I'm basically saying? I ain't trying to come up stinking nowhere. Like, what's the tea? And he's like, listen, the governor did X, Y, and Z. And she looking at him like, bro, you sound crazy as hell, and I don't know if I'm going to do this. But he talks her into doing it. She takes the package and says she going to see what she going to find. When she was looking like that, I already knew she was going to tell you. I was like, baby, she finna take that right to the police station, okay? And I don't even blame her. Girl, like, girl, I don't want no parts of this, all right? Annalise and Crawford talk, and she basically saying he going to cave to her. I mean, is that really what he gonna do? I thought they was trying to beat it. And he was like, you know, she's a female CEO and, you know, he's a white boy and he's got everything in life, and doesn't he want to leave this world knowing that he did something good? Like, she is really working him, okay? for him to take the fall or whatever, and he just feel like he needs to balance the scales and do something right for humanity and all that crap. And Annalise is like, listen, fine. If you want to be the martyr, fine. See how far I get you. Hence the title of the episode, Be the Martyr. At the same time this is happening, Nate texts her and tells her that he has proof now, so she leaves. Nate and Annalise are at the house, and he's telling her about the evidence. He gives her the DNA copy that he got from old girl, saying that Miller doctored the test and he gave this to the jury while they was deliberating. Unfortunately, that's not like against the rules. You can give information to a jury that you don't want to present in court that may be highly like, you know, prejudicial or highly like, you know, important or something that can't be said out in open court. So it's not a rule against that. You can do that. But she says the test, he's like, the test is faked. You know, Miller faked the test and he gave it. And she's like, listen, even if the test is fake, there's no evidence that Miller gave this to the jury. We don't know. And she's like, well, who else could it be? We don't know who, okay? And basically she's telling him, listen, because how many times have Annalise done this exact same thing to Nate? Have she come to Nate with some crazy, far-fetched idea, and Nate is like, girl, calm down. Think about it like this. So in one way, I understand how Nate is like, either you on my team, you believe me, or you can get out. Like, I done rode for you. Like, you need to ride for me. Period. Okay? Period. Because I done rode for you a many a time. I done went to jail. I didn't tell, you know, all of this stuff. And then at the same time, I can understand Annalise, because she's done the things that she's done and been through all this, you know, drama for the past 3 or 4 seasons. She can say, listen, even if this is this, this is this. And by you going out here and doing all of this and you keep digging and you keep digging, you're making yourself look like a suspect. You are not going to, this is not going to fare well for you if you keep on doing this kind of stuff. And she's saying that, I know you feel guilty. And then it did turn into a little bit of like she don't believe him, because she said, I know you feel guilty about what you did. You can't make somebody guilty just because you want them to be. You have to have evidence. So he tell her, listen, you either on my team or you not, or you can get out. And she gets up and walks out. Then we have the sad montage. Bonnie is in the car. She is sitting in the car in the garage, pressing on the gas, child, just thinking about Ronnie and all the good memories they had when he told her she was the strongest person he knows, and all these things, and how she was telling him she don't want to mess up what they got going on and all that. So she's sad about that. At the same time, Nate is looking at pictures of his dad, pretty much doing the same thing. He's so sad, you know, about his father passing away and how they were reconnecting and kind of like getting back together and how they won a trial. And he was so looking forward to spending time with his father. You could tell that really, you know, is getting to him, because he's crying in a way that we have never seen Nate cry like this. You know, like he's really going through something. I don't know if it's mental illness, but like he's really, really upset by these things that are happening to him or whatever. I ain't gonna say that. I was gonna say, well, you know, his daddy, you could have stayed in jail. Once he pulled his, you know, ripped his Band-Aid off and tried to get with his father, it's been like, it hasn't been a good experience. You know, nothing good has happened from everything that they've tried to do. So Nate is going through, Bonnie is going through. We get back to Bonnie, same thing, more memories, and then we see a light flash on her, and Frank comes in to save the day. My question of the day for you guys is, how did Frank become sexy again? I'm going to tell you how. Okay, you tell me how, but I'm going to tell you how. He grew his beard back, number 1. Number 2, he stopped talking so much, and he just started being old Frank, where he just come and scoop you up sexily. Okay, he come in, he swoop in, he surveil you, he do what he need to do. But when Frank started falling in love and all of that, he started being a simp, and I wasn't for that. I like this Frank right here, this one right here, like my grandmother used to say, right here, this one, I like him. So Frank came in looking stressed, because that beard is gray now, okay, looking stressed, honey. He picks up Bonnie, he brings her into the house. Then we go back to Nate, and we see Nate calling Bonnie, and Frank answers the phone. He like, where is Bonnie? She resting. Well, I need the chain of custody on the gun, you know, on the officer's gun. And he's like, she can't get that for you right now. You know, basically, Bonnie is laid out. And you need to stop digging, because I'm worried. And he's like, well, what are you worried about? He says, this is what I do, okay? Basically, like, you can't do a Frank on Frank, okay? This is what I do, and I'm worried, my nigga. So I'm going to need for you to be worried. Stop all this digging and leave stuff alone. Like, you're going too far. You're doing too much. This has been told to Nate several times during this episode, okay? Everybody is doubting him. Everybody telling him making himself look crazy. Even Annalise was like, listen, who you think the people gonna believe? The white woman who run the state or you? You looking crazy out here, bro. Even if you right, you have to have evidence. Evidence. When Frank go to get in the bed with Bonnie Child, he was looking so stressed out. I said, y'all got this man about to have a whole goddamn heart attack. I know Frank blood pressure be high to the mug. Frank stressed. I said, y'all got Frank stressed out, honey. He looked like he didn't know whether to laugh, cry. He just looked like he was just out on the limb. Out on a limb. Yes, he was out on a limb. Laurel and Asher are going back and forth again about the baby having PTSD. I don't care about it. Everybody like the baby is fine. Nothing wrong with the baby. Only reason she going through all this is because, like I said, her family is trash and Wes was a murderer. And so now she feeling some type of way like the baby not going to be normal. And she taking that shit out on Bonnie because the baby, I don't even think the baby saw what was going on, but you know, whatever. Michaela calls her upstairs and they go upstairs. Asher giving Oliver a hug, or Oliver hugging Asher really, because Asher is just going through, child. He like, I just don't even know. Like, he needed that hug, and that was a cute moment. We go upstairs and we see Michaela and Laurel talking, and basically Michaela is saying, look, you know, the baby's gonna be fine because I was in the room when my mother was shot. I don't know if she said her parents. I think she said her mother. It was either her mother or parents. I can't remember, but I was in the room when my parents were shot, and, you know, when they took me and put me in the foster home, I was 1 year old, and I don't even remember it. I can't remember it. So the baby will be fine because, you know, look how good I turned out. And Laura was like, yeah. Look, yeah. Then we see Crawford, he's getting into a car, and we see that the woman that he get in the car with is his old boo. Okay, wait a minute. And she's like, you know, I need to take the blame for this. It was my fault. I made a bad decision. You told me not to do it, and I did it anyway. And now they basically trying to blame him for saying that he didn't tell her not to do it. And he's like, no, you know, I want to do something good for the world, and, you know, it's okay. I'm going to fall on this sword for you, young maiden. I think that I'm going to do something right before I die. And they go to kissing, and Annalise walk up on them like somebody mama. All she needed was a bonnet. But she walk up on them like, really, nigga? This what we doing? White friend? This what we doing? So they go back to the office, and she's like, listen, the lady is working you. She's manipulating you. It's reverse psychology. All they care about is money. Okay, so you gonna let these people take you down, or like, what's the tea? Like, what are you gonna do? And he's like, listen, you know, I want to do this. You know, we made this decision, and you know, the same thing he was saying earlier. You know, I don't know if this one she said be the martyr or it was earlier, but anyway, she told him be the martyr. Do what you gotta do, bitch. I'm tired. I'm not about to go back and forth with you. You know what I'm saying? You made me beg for this job, and I told you I was gonna get you off, and now you just gonna cave in, child. Good night. Okay, all she had to do was cry some crocodile tears. She walk out of there and leave him. We see Nate down to the police station, hollering at everybody up in there trying to get the chain of custody. His badge number ain't checking out. Oh boy, like, listen, you don't work for the state no more. Like, we know that. So I'm gonna need for you to go on about your business. You're not gonna be able to get this report. At the same time, the federal officers are coming in. He getting loud. He getting belligerent. And they're telling him, listen, you need to come with us. We have to ask you some questions. He looked at the dude like, nigga, did you call them, nigga? So they was like, listen, the cuffs is only optional for 5 more seconds. So he go out with the officers, and we're basically back where we started. We see Annalise making a phone call again, telling him he don't need to answer any of the questions, him hanging up on Annalise, and Annalise getting up to walk into the meeting with Crawford. And Tegan is following her down the hallway, asking about the woman, like, kind of trying to throw that hint out there that, you know, she fine or she fine, girl. Like, and Annalise like, girl, what are you talking about? Okay, like, what told you my business? And so she kind of throwing it out there for Annalise a little bit. And then she asks about Nate signing the paperwork for the civil suit. And Annalise is like, listen, Nate is still interested in having a criminal trial. So if he loses a civil suit, then the criminal trial aspect is not an option anymore. So we will be letting you know when he's ready to move forward in another type of case, but we're not interested in that at this time. And so Tegan is like, what the hell? So she goes to Michaela, and Michaela gonna stand up there and lie, talking about, well, I talked to Nate, and he said he's just not ready to move forward with any type of trial. And Tegan is like, even a criminal trial? And she was like, no type of trial. And so they kind of say something else, and she like, why are you lying? Okay, why are you lying to me? All of y'all are full of crap. Okay, that's not the truth. And she gets up and she walks away. And when she's walking away, Gabriel caught that. Why you lying? Okay, why is you lying about Nate and the daddy and all of this? What's going on? So even though he don't know nothing about Miller and Nate and the whole situation, he getting the inkling that something is going on. That's why they not moving forward and they can't get with Nate, because there's something going on with Nate. So you got to watch Gabriel. He a snake. In the meantime, Annalise goes to Crawford and tells him she got a plan. She just can't watch him go down like that. The plan is that they're going to blame everything on Jensen. They're going to say that he is the one who, you know, told her, who didn't advise her to do the right thing, and or told her that it was okay for her to do whatever. I don't know what the plan was, but they both had the same plan. He had already wrote up the draft for it. So when they get down there, Jensen is like, well, you know, I don't want to do that. We're not going to change at the last minute. And the woman was like, well, you know, I was going to admit my fault or whatever. Well, he don't want you. Jensen don't want you to admit the fault, okay? So they going to basically put him on the hot seat. You know, he ain't really had no choice but to go with it, because the woman kind of flipped on it and she was like, yes, you know what? He did tell me to do that. He told me that everything was going to be good and, you know, it wasn't going to be no violations or whatever, and everything was going to be straight. So he was like, Jensen was like, really? This what y'all going to do? Y'all going to turn it around on me? All right. So they won that case. And while they looking through the mirror, you know, seeing what's going on with the deposition, Crawford is like, well, you know, we could go out for dinner, you know, and I won't drink, you know, we could celebrate. And she was like, well, ain't your girlfriend in town? And he was like, well, you know, you got to close one door to open another door. Sir, wasn't you just kissing somebody in the car like 5 minutes ago? Sir, not even 24 hours ago. I was like, Annalise, don't you do it. Don't you do it. And he did say something about they're going to be sitting ducks at the firm now. She like, listen, I'm used to it. I mean, that ain't nothing. That's normal. Oh, Lord, this is a long video. So the FBI is asking Nate, why do they think the governor would be involved in the disappearance of Miller? He says it was because Miller arranged for the transfer of his father. And they said, well, how do you know the governor, you know, arranged for this, or Miller arranged for this, or whatever? And they was like, well, I was hoping that y'all would be able to get better surveillance or better intel on somebody so high up. I think it was the governor he was referring to. They're like, you know, this story sounds crazy, right? And he's like, how does it sound crazy? He says, well, if you can prove that, you know, Miller did something to your father, then you're basically, you proving that you were suspect in this case, in Miller's disappearance. And then the police officer goes on to list all the erratic behaviors he's been doing over this whole episode, like him showing out in the police station, like him getting old girl to get the copy of the DNA evidence. Like I said, she went back and told, okay? Speaking to the jury member when you know you're not supposed to do those things. And they was like that, and beating up the corrections officer. So that's not, you know, all these erratic behaviors. They started asking him about, has he ever had mental health problems? Has he, you know, he have a history of mental health in his family? And he's like, listen, my dad, that, you know, they put him in the hole. That broke him. I don't have mental health issues. I'm not crazy. And if you need proof, I can give you proof. And they kind of like let him go, like, okay, well, we're gonna give you some, we're gonna get the proof. He goes back to Annalise and Bonnie and he reports all this information to Annalise. Annalise is upset with him because he gave his DNA, but he says he gave the DNA so they can match it like his father's, because you know fathers and sons have similar DNA, and they can prove that his father's DNA was not on the gun. So that's why he gave the DNA. And Bonnie is just sitting in the corner just sad, you know, crying, and he sits down with her because she like, what if we wrong? And he was like, listen, we could be wrong, you could be right, you know, but the fact is you did it because you was saving me, you was protecting me. So at the end of the day, it's all gonna lead back to me. And so she started crying, and you know, he like holding her. Some tell me they're gonna end up jumping up on top of each other before this season is over with. And Annalise just standing in the corner looking like, these motherfuckers, I am so tired of saving these people doing the same stupid shit over and over again, child. Why people can't just stop murdering people? I know Annalise sitting over there like, I ain't got time for this shit. I'm not sure if this is out of order or not, but we see Gabriel at some point. He goes to the house, he gets that bag he has in the chimney, he cuts up the ID, he tries to smash the phone. Somebody is knocking on the door, banging on the door. We don't know who it is, because when he goes to the door, they cut to Frank coming into his house, or Bonnie's house. And he's looking all over for Bonnie. Obviously, he's stressed again. He thinking she might have tried to kill herself again. He walking all over the place, don't know where she is, about to have a damn heart attack. At the same time, we also see Tegan calling the federal agent the same federal agent that did her deal for the last case is the federal agent that's working this case. So she calls her and she's like, oh, I heard you were in town. You know, can we meet up? Obviously, she's trying to find out some more information, and I feel like she shouldn't even do that. Tegan, like, just stay away from the whole situation, girl, and just go find you another case somewhere else, baby. Stop fooling with these people, honey. But she about to be entangled and wrapped up in this mess, too, I see. At the same time, we also see Annalise going over to the Cruz house. You know, Laurel is still like, did you know Christopher saw the whole thing? And Annalise is like, no, I didn't know, whatever. But y'all got to leave Bonnie alone. Like, she's stressed to the max. Like, just leave her alone. So right as we see the federal agent getting Tegan's message, we see them walking Nate back into the room. And so basically they sit him down because he like, y'all just gonna arrest me? And she like, no, we're not gonna arrest you. We're not here for that. And so we see that they tell him that the DNA test that they ran, they did not find a match between his father's DNA and the DNA that was on the gun. So basically he was telling the truth. So somebody did doctor the DNA evidence and gave it to the jury, but we don't know if that was Miller or not. He says it was Miller, and they're like, listen, we're not there yet, okay, but we're going to find out what's going on and who, you know, is doctoring evidence. So now we got the feds involved. And so then we go back to the house with Annalise and the crew. Annalise is basically telling them, listen, Nate has a plan. The plan is the governor killed his father, okay? And so everybody's like, you know, like, here we go again with the story, because they was trying to figure out what they was going to say and if they was going to tell the truth, if they was going to lie. And you can tell everybody is kind of like half-hearted with the shit when she like, that's the plan, and they like, all right, you know, we can see Laurel is like, you know, she be 1 foot out the door all the time. Michaela and them like, all right, whatever, you know. Because, I mean, really, they don't have nothing to do with this other than Gabriel bringing the whole Sam you know, the whole Sam, the original sin, back into play, right? But other than that, they don't have anything to do with this. But Gabriel is going to be the linchpin for that, because now the feds know that he was working with Miller, and so that's going to tie back to all of them when they find out that that's Sam's son and child. That's going to be a whole hot mess, okay? I don't even know. That's going to be a mess. That could unravel everything and have their ass all up in jail, child. So who knows? So when they in the office, like I said earlier, they tell Nate that they have someone in custody right now who could shed light on the situation. And then we pan to the jailhouse, or back to the house, and Annalise gets a phone call from an inmate, and guess who it is? None other than Gabriel. He's been locked up. They won't let him out. They won't let him out, no. Gabriel in jail, and he need a lawyer, honey. So he calling Annalise to be his lawyer. So you know she gonna be his lawyer, because she like to go out there and rescue folks. So it's getting hot. It was a lot of going on this episode. I'm sorry this video is so long. Hopefully you can do this while you were on your lunch break or you working out or something like that. Yeah, it was a good episode. It was jam-packed with stuff. I wish they would kind of spread some of this stuff out, but I almost think they do it on purpose like this to confuse us, to keep us trying to figure out what's going on and what's happening, and, you know, how these parts connect. So I want to hear your thoughts on the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You know you want to do it. I don't know why you acting like you don't want to hit that subscribe button. Go on, do that. And share my video with all your friends. Y'all, if you want to follow me on social media, you can at Who Is April Dawn. That's on Twitter, that's on Instagram, and that's on Snapchat. I'm not a big, huge social media person. I'm on Instagram probably the most out of all three of those things. So, all right, y'all. I will holler at y'all next week. You have a blessed one. Peace.